They say when a nightmare ends, the silence feels like relief. But sometimes, silence is just the moment before something realizes you're listening. After the arrest, the city tried to forget. The house was locked, the files were sealed, and everyone agreed the horror was over. Then the phone rang. Not once, not by mistake, but every night at exactly the same time, 2:17 a.m. No voice, no breathing, just the certainty that something unfinished was still awake. My name is Alina, and what you're about to hear isn't a legend, isn't a rumor, and isn't something people like to talk about. It's a story that was buried on purpose, and once you hear it, you'll understand why some nightmares don't end when the arrest is made. Everyone thought the nightmare was over. The man responsible had been arrested. The house was sealed. The bodies were counted. The city tried to move on. But 3 weeks after the arrest, a woman named Laura Bennett received a phone call at 2:17 a.m. She didn't answer it because the caller ID showed a name that shouldn't have existed anymore. The man who was already in prison. Laura was a records clerk at the county office. Her job was boring, digitizing old files, death certificates, missing persons reports. She had never met the killer. She had never been involved in the case. That's what made the call terrifying. The voicemail was empty. No breathing, no static, just silence. The next morning, Laura noticed something strange. A missing persons file from 1981 had appeared in the system. The case status read, "Unresolved, body never found." That made no sense. All victims were accounted for. At least, that's what the city believed. Laura began searching. She found 9 missing persons reports that didn't match the official numbers. Different dates, different locations, same pattern. All young men, all last seen accepting help from someone described as friendly, well-dressed, or helpful, and all marked closed without a body. Someone had closed these cases quietly, someone with authority. Then Laura found a maintenance log, a forgotten storage facility owned by the city, decommissioned years ago, never searched. The address matched an old contractor's permit tied to the killer but never investigated. Laura reported it. Police told her to stop digging. That night, her phone rang again, 2:17 a.m. This time, the voicemail wasn't silent. It said only one sentence: "You're looking in the wrong place." Laura went anyway. The storage facility was half underground, flooded, rusted, forgotten. When investigators finally entered, after public pressure, they found sealed concrete sections behind false walls. Inside were personal items, shoes, wallets, photographs. No bodies, but something worse, a tape recorder. The tape was still intact. The voice on it was calm, familiar, mocking. Not a confession, a lesson. "You think monsters work alone," the voice said. "That's why you never see what's standing beside you." The recording listed names, city officials, inspectors, people who had signed documents, people who had ignored smells, reports, complaints. The killer hadn't worked alone. He'd been protected. Laura disappeared 3 days later. No struggle, no witnesses. Her apartment was untouched, except for her phone. At 2:17 a.m., it rang one last time. Laura's body was never found. The storage facility was sealed permanently. The tape was classified. The names were never released. Officials said there was no evidence of a network, but something changed in the city. Phones rang at night in empty rooms. Old case files reopened themselves in the system, and people who signed off on the past began dying quietly. Heart attacks, accidents, unexplained falls. Always at 2:17 a.m. The final report concluded, no further threat detected, but the last line of Laura's unreleased notes said otherwise. The killer didn't want to be remembered. He wanted to be continued. And sometimes the most terrifying thing isn't that evil exists, it's that it was allowed to.